everyone, it's Hannah here from Hand Jam Crochet, and today I'm going to share with you how to make my Walcot Beanie, which is a new design that I've designed for the fall 2021 blog hop that I'm involved in, and I'll put all the details in the links down below for that. But the pattern comes in 6 different sizes, from premature baby through to large adult, and all the information that you will need is free on the blog. But also there's the option to get a PDF pattern to print out in my stores too. So whichever version you prefer is great. It's a really lovely textured pattern that is really simple once you get going. Once you've worked the crown, you're absolutely fine because this bit is worked straight. And then a really simple cuff that turns its way up. And the great thing about this is that once you've set your size for the crown, the circle bit, because we're working from the top down, this section here can be as long or as short as you like. So hats fit, heads are all completely different shapes and sizes, aren't they? So if you wanted this to be a bit longer, just keep repeating this section. If you want your cuff to be thinner, fatter, whatever you want it to be, you can really easily adapt this pattern. But as I say, I have sized it for 6 different sizes in the pattern. So hopefully one of those would fit someone along the line somewhere. So let's take a look at the supplies we're going to need. For this beanie, I chose to use Brava Worsted weight yarn from WeCrochet, and each hat I used to get this effect, this coloured effect here, I've used 2 different colours. And so I've got a solid colour here and then a speckled yarn as well, which I think the 2 work really nicely together. In terms of the amount of yarn, it really doesn't need an awful lot. So I made these 2 sizes. So we've got a large adult and a baby size, I believe this one is, and that was just 2 balls of yarn. So it doesn't take a huge amount of yarn to make one of these, and also it doesn't take a huge amount of time, which is also a winner, hey? So aside from your yarn, you're going to need a pair of scissors, a crochet hook. You're going to either need a 6mm crochet hook, and this is a wooden Streamline Furls, or a 5.5mm crochet hook. This is how we are going to size up or size down the hats. So in the pattern, you will see that it will tell you to work a gauge swatch with a 6mm crochet hook. And then once you meet the gauge, depending on which size hat you're going to make, you're going to either stick with your 6mm or you're going to drop down to a 5.5. That will all make sense once you go and pop over to the blog and have a look at the pattern and work out which one you need to use. The other thing that you will need is a needle to sew in your ends, but otherwise I think we're good to go. So it really doesn't matter which order you choose to use your colours in. They're going to be alternate rows. So however you want to do it is absolutely fine. But also if you wanted to work it in a solid colour, that would look really nice too, I think. So I'm going to show you here now the premature sized hat. So I'm using a 6mm crochet hook. And to begin with, we're working from the top down. We're going to start with a magic ring. And there are so many different ways of making a magic ring, and I always get myself tangled up, and I don't enjoy making them, but they work brilliantly. And now we're going to work 6 half double crochet into the magic ring. And so now, to get ready to work round 2, we are going to, with your new colour of yarn B, you're going to slip stitch into that first stitch to join. And so for round 2, we are going to chain 1, and then you've got 6 stitches in this round, and we're going to round this first one we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 here, we are going to front post double crochet here, and then we need to work a half double crochet. I should have said I'm speaking in US crochet terms here, but the pattern is in both UK and US terms. Once you've done that front post double crochet there, we're going to do a half double crochet increase stitch. So this is the special stitch for this hat, and the increase stitch is going to go in between the stitches. So you're not going to actually work it into a stitch from the previous round at all. It's going to be this stitch you've just done here counts as that first stitch, and then this is the second stitch, but we're going to work then into the middle of those. So that's your increase stitch. And then you're going to work a front post double crochet around the next, and then an increase stitch. So we find where our stitches we've just worked, the next one along, and we're going in the middle of the two. And you just repeat that around, a front post double crochet, and then an increase half double crochet, front post double crochet, an increase half double crochet, a front post double crochet, and an increase, and then for the final stitch, a front post double crochet, and then an increase. And then we're going to slip stitch into that first again and change colour at the same time. So the good thing about it being a hat is that you can hide all your ends inside. You don't need to sew anything in other than at the very beginning and at the very end. So now we are ready to work round 3. And you're going to chain 1, which doesn't count as a stitch. You're going to front post double crochet in the next, and then you're going to work 2 half double crochet into the next stitch. So for each round you are increasing, but you're increasing in a different way. And now we're going to do a repeat of those stitches. We're going to do a front post double crochet in the next, and then 2 half double crochet in the next stitch, a front post double crochet around the next, and then 2 half double crochet in the next stitch, front post double crochet, 2 half double crochet, and just keep going like that until you've gone all the way around. And then we're going to slip stitch with the next colour, ready to start the next round. So then for round 4, we are going to chain 1, we're going to front post double crochet around the first, we're going to work a half double crochet in the next, we're going to then work a front post double crochet around this next stitch, so the second of your two stitches that you worked in the last round there. And then we need to do an increase half double crochet, so that increase goes in between the stitches, remember. So this is the one we've just worked, this is our next stitch, so we're going to work here in the middle of them. and that gives us a set of 4. So now we carry on. So a front post double crochet, a half double crochet in the next, then we're going to work a front post double crochet. Now sometimes it looks like you might, this one is the next stitch, but it's not, because you've just worked that into there. So this is the next stitch that we're going to work around, do that front post double crochet there, and then your increase stitch comes in between before the next stitch, and we carry on working around like that. So a front post double crochet, a half double crochet in the next, a front post double crochet here, and then an increase half double crochet in between the stitches there. Keep going all the way around. That's a half double crochet, a front post, and then an increase half double crochet in between the stitches. Keep repeating those sets of 4 all the way around. Your final increase stitch goes there, and now we're going to switch colour and slip stitch, ready to start the next round. Now as you see, all your joins are hidden because each round starts with a post stitch. So the post stitch lifts it above, and you then can't see any of the joining parts of the stitches. So it's really clever for hiding things. I love things like that. So would you believe it, but for the premature size, that's it for our hat crown. That's as far as we need to go. That's the amount of increases we need. We've got 24 stitches now around here, but for the other sizes, which are detailed in the pattern, there are a different amount of increase rounds, but they are essentially the same. So the last 2 rounds that we have just worked, you just keep working, repeat versions of those repeats to get to where you need your hat crown to be. So then once we get to the stage where you're going to move on, whichever size hat you're making, the next round will be exactly the same for the body. You are now going to work straight. You're not going to have any increases at all. So we chain 1, and then we're going to front post double crochet, and then a half double crochet, a front post double crochet, and a half double crochet. And you'll see that the stitches are sat there waiting for you, because we've got post stitches and not post stitches, and that just helps you find where to place the ones you're now doing. So if you are wanting to adjust the size of your hat crown, then do so, but make sure you end with an even round. Always make sure to end on an even round, because then you'll have your post stitches and your non-post stitches in the right place for you, and as you make them, that will then become obvious, because otherwise you'll have big gaps of not post stitches and it won't look quite right. So carry on all the way around, and then we're going to change our colour again, because every round we change. And we chain 1, and you just repeat exactly the same. So for the hat body, you repeat that round for as many times as the pattern tells you to, or for as tall as you like the hat to be. So the great thing about working a top-down hat is that you can try it on as you go. If you've got your subject there with you, or if you're making it for yourself, you can just pop it on and just decide where you'd then like your cuff to start and where you'd like it to sit on you. For the premature hat, you're only going to need to work 8 rounds of this. So if you carry on with your hat, working the body to the height you'd like it to be, and then meet me back here and I'll show you how to make the cuff. So now I've completed the amount of rounds for the premature size hat, and I know it looks really diddy, But I promise you, so I've been a midwife for years, and so I have worked and looked after many premature babies, and their heads are so tiny. So don't worry if your hat looks ridiculously small if you're making the premature size. That's absolutely fine. That's perfect. The most important thing, going completely off track here, the most important thing with premature baby hats, and any baby hat I suppose, is that it has a good amount of stretch in. So that's kind of why I've designed it like this, because as you can imagine, dressing a very, very small baby attached to lots of different wires and gizmos and things is really difficult. So the more stretch that something has in it, the easier it is to get on and off. And also the other thing that I was going to say is that I have designed this hat to be more pointed at the top, because I personally, this is from a personal point of view, not from a premature baby point of view, I personally prefer a hat that has shape at the top as opposed to one that sits really flat down to my head. That is just me. And also I did think that these hats would look really cool with a bobble on top, which I haven't added, but you can if you want, because I'm not necessarily a kind of bobble kind of person. But yeah, they're my top hat tips. So now we've worked the amount of rounds, which you can do as many or as few as you like. We are going to do the cuff. So you're going to select the colour that you want to make the cuff in. It can be either colour, it really doesn't matter. And we are going to chain the appropriate number that the pattern says for you. So for the premature size, we are going to chain 9. And then we're going to work back along that chain, and we're going to work in the second chain from the hook. We are going to work a single crochet in each stitch. So we worked 9 chains, so that's going to give us 8 single crochet, because we're working from the second chain and each along. And now we've got back to the circumference of the hat, and we're going to now, this is the stitch we're working in here, we're going to slip stitch in the next 2 stitches around the circumference. And now we're going to turn our work, because we're going to work in rows here, and we are going to chain 1, and then you're going to single crochet in the back loop only, so just this loop, not through the whole stitch, of the 8 stitches that you made there. And then we're going to turn our work again, and we're going to chain 1, and then you're going to single crochet in the back loop only of the 8 stitches, or however many your cuff is. And then we're going to slip stitch in the next 2 around. Turn, chain 1, and then we're going to work a single crochet into the back loop just as before. And those 2 rows are the repeat for the cuff, and so we just work all the way around. So if you want to work away on this cuff, and then come and meet me back here when you've run out of stitches to slip stitch into. So now we've got to the point where we just have 1 stitch left here in the circumference. So we are going to slip stitch into this one, and then we're going to slip stitch into the first again. And then we will turn, chain 1, and now you're going to work a single crochet into the back loop only again for the whole of your cuff. And now we are ready to seam the two together. So for that, the best way I think to kind of hide the seam, as it were, is to use the back loop there and then just the main stitch here. And I slip stitch seam, which is easier to do than it is to say, all the way down your cuff, matching stitch for stitch. And then you're ready to cut your ends, sew in your ends, which you should have a couple inside. Here are mine still, so 2 at the beginning, one of your second colour that you left there before the cuff, and then one for your cuff at the very end. And so that's all there is to it. As I say, the pattern is available for free on my blog or to purchase as a PDF in my stores. And there are 6 sizes, but it's really easy to adapt and to make it however you'd like to make it. And also you could use different weights of yarn as well. With this pattern, you just need to figure out whether the crown of your hat fits the top of your head properly or not before you start working the main hat body. So I hope you've really enjoyed this and that it's been useful, and I can't wait to see your hats that you make. Do come and find me, subscribe and tap the bell button if you'd like to receive notifications when I make new tutorials and launch new patterns. I'd love to meet you and I'd love to know what you're making. So come find me and say hi. Thanks so much for watching. See you again soon. Bye.